So the review for summative 8, and it is summative 8, not 9. This is a typo, one of many, I'm sure. Covers 4 sections of sequences, okay? There's arithmetic and geometric sequences, and then arithmetic and geometric sums or series. I should probably have put the 2 arithmetic ones together and the 2 geometric ones together, but I did not. So watch carefully as you take the quiz for those lines that indicate you're on to a new section. All right. On the review sheet, it lists what practice you should have done. If you have not done this practice, in my opinion, you're probably not very well prepared for the quiz. So just with that in mind. The first 2 examples are under the arithmetic sequence section. The first one says, in an arithmetic sequence, what is D if a sub 1 is negative 20 and a sub 23 is 57? Okay, so you can use this formula from your reference sheet. It's basically saying in words, the 23rd term is the first term plus the difference, and it would be n minus 1 times. If there's 23rd term, it would be 22 times. Okay? So that's just to help in words. If we filled this in, the 23rd term would be the first term plus the difference, and I always put the D out in front here, 23 minus 1 times. Well, we know the 23rd term. Anybody? Okay. And we know the first term is negative 20. And we're trying to find the difference. And 23 minus 1 on a good day is 22. Okay, so how would we solve that? Add the 20 over here, and that would become... We'd add 20 first, and then we would divide by the 22. And that would make the difference 7 halves or 3.5, either one of which is exact. Is somebody getting that? Okay. Sorry, I crunched these in here a little small on the smart file here. All right, you will find this form on your reference sheet, and this is explicit. So you're just going to fill in these and leave an N. So for this one over here, negative 6.5, negative 2.5, 1.5, 5.5. Okay, you can take any term and subtract the previous term. If you take 5.5 minus 1.5, you get a difference of 4. Is everybody with me? So a sub n equals, the first term was negative 6.5 plus a difference of 4 and minus 1 times. And I'm fine with you leaving it like that on the quiz, even if you put the 4 at the back, I don't care. You don't have to distribute and simplify. Everybody good? All right. When you see recursive, that's the one where you have to think like explaining it to a 5th grader. If I was explaining this sequence to a 5th grader, I would say, well, they started with negative 6.5, and then they were adding 4. The fancy notation we have to use is any term is the previous term plus 4. You have to have both parts. It doesn't matter what order you put those 2 parts in. Questions? That is definitely not all of the questions on the arithmetic sequence part of the quiz, but those are 2 I was worried about, so I put them on the review. All right, geometric sequences, remember this is the form a sub 1 times some r ratio n minus 1 times. So the question says, for the arithmetic sequence starting with 10, with an r value of 3/2, find the first 5 terms. Anybody? What's the first term? 10. And then times 3 divided by 2, or times 1.5, is 15. And then I think, is it 22.5? And then 33.75? How did I do on that one? And then I don't know. What is it? Or you could make it a mixed number. That's a 6. Sorry, that's really messy. Those are exact. You could have made them all improper fractions, you know, done the whole math enter thing. But you could have all come up with those. Then this says find the exact value of the 8th term. And unfortunately, I think it's a real ugly decimal, but the calculator will change it into a fraction to get an exact value. But if we go with this, and the 8th term, we're already partway there. We're at the 5th term. So you could just find it that way. But normally, if I had to find the 8th term, I would have said I'm going to take the first term times the r value, 8 minus 1 times. So 10 times 3/2 to the 8 minus 1 is 7. Math, enter. Anybody get that lovely number? 10,935 over 64. So when it says exact, change it to a fraction if you can. I think I made sure they could all be done as a fraction on the calculator. Otherwise, list all the decimal places out, and I would be leery if you get one that doesn't change to a fraction. It's possible you did something wrong, but I'm not guaranteeing anything. All right, explicit is just this one that we just wrote down here. It's on the reference sheet. So can anybody quote it? It would be a sub 1 equals 10 times 3/2 to the n minus 1. And nobody's going to go ahead and do 10 times 3/2 is 15, right? Okay. And recursive, that's where you say the first term was 10. And how do I say the previous term, guys? A sub n minus 1. And this time we were multiplying by 3/2. Or 1.5. Wouldn't be wrong to write that. Questions? All right, so there's is there more? I feel like there's a couple more in this section. Okay. This one has a typo. Please change this denominator from 626 to 625 in the hopes that our calculator will do this with a nicer answer. It says, in a geometric sequence, what is r? We're looking for r. If the first term is negative 20 and the 6th term is this. So in words, 6th term equals first term times r to the 6 minus 1 times. Is everybody okay with those words? So what are we putting in for 6th term? That newly fixed messy fraction. And the first term they told us was negative 20. And then it's times r. If we had written out, there would have been missing terms in between there, and we could have counted blanks, but it really doesn't matter. We use this idea, and it's just going to be a 5. You had to multiply 5 times to get to the 6th term. All right, be careful. What are we doing to solve this? Yeah, be careful. Somebody's going to want to add. You're dividing by negative 20. So I probably would have put that fraction in parentheses. Was it 4096, guys? Over 625 divided by negative 20. Okay, it's a decimal, but it's, what do we still have to do then? That's still r to the 5th. So to get rid of that, are you not getting the decimal like I just? Yeah, there was a typo. Yep, it needs to be a 625. Anybody else confused? Sorry about that. All right. To get rid of the to the 5th power, we need to either go to math and use this guy to do the 5th root of that answer. Or you could have said, I'm going to put this guy in parentheses and then do to the 1/5 power. You just got to be careful because it's negative. Anybody else getting negative 0.8? Or you could use negative 4/5. Okay. I don't remember what this decimal was, but we needed to 5th root it. And it came out negative 0.8. Or negative 4/5, and that's all they wanted, was the R value. You could check it. You could do negative 20 and then start multiplying by negative 4/5 and make sure the 6th term came out exactly that. Questions? Is there one more? Okay, one more. This one says work backwards and find the 1st term. So again, the 6th term is the 1st term times what? R to the 6 minus 1. And we know the 6th term is 1/8. And this time we know R is 4 to the 6 minus 1. And we're trying to find the 1st term. They called it U sub 1 instead of A sub 1. Doesn't matter to me what you call it. So what are we going to do here? We could do 4 to the 5th power first, but eventually we're going to have to do what to get rid of this multiplication? Divide. So I might just be lazy and do it all at once. So 1/8 divided by, I already forgot what it was. 4 to the 5th. It's a gross decimal that if we do math enter becomes a lovely 1/8192. Did someone else get that? Okay, let me put that on the screen here. Okay, this disgusting decimal became 1 over, and I can't see it, 8192. Questions? All right, now it flips back, and I apologize, this is the order it is on the quiz, to arithmetic, okay? But this time it has some applications and it has some find the sum questions. I don't think there's a whole lot on the review. Looks like there's just one question on the review, okay? Find the exact sum of the first 10 terms of this sequence. Now, I tried to do this second hour and I was like, what are they multiplying by? Arithmetic doesn't mean they're multiplying, right? It means they're adding. What are they adding though? Yes, the difference is negative 30 here. Okay. So find the exact value of the first 10 terms. Well, this is the formula. So we'd have the sum of 10 terms is 10 divided by 2 times the first term plus the 10th term. What's the problem? Do we know the 10th term yet? No. So you could just list them out and find the 10th term. I wouldn't count that wrong. But the formula we were using earlier said a sub 1 plus the difference n minus 1 times. So to find the 10th term, you would take 20 plus the difference of negative 30, 10 minus 1 times. Someone type that in, but I think, is it negative 250? Or did I do that wrong? Is that right? Okay. So a sub 10 is negative 250, but that still doesn't become the sum until we plug it in here. 10 over 2 times the first term, which was 20, plus the 10th term, which we just found was negative 250. And I don't think I know what that is. Negative 230 times 5. 1150 negative, maybe? Yes? Okay. So that's the sum of the first 10 terms. If you listed out the 10 terms and added them up, and that was the most efficient way you could figure out to do it, you can still get the right answer, right? As long as you're careful. Elijah, I really would appreciate if you put that away. All right, then it switches back to geometric sums, and this is the formula. There's a couple versions of the formula on the reference sheet. I don't have the Delta Math version on this printout or this slide, but does anybody remember what the big deal is? The big deal to getting this right is that that R needs to be in parentheses, especially if it's either negative or a fraction, okay? So make sure you put parentheses around the R. So this says find the exact sum of the first 6 terms of a geometric sequence with u sub 1 is 10 and R is negative 1/4. So we want the sum of the first 6 terms, but it's a geometric sequence. So the formula says a sub 1 times 1 minus r to the n all over 1 minus r. So for us, this becomes 10 times 1 minus negative 1/4 to the 10th or the 9th, or the neither one of those, because I just read it wrong. How many terms are we supposed to be finding the sum of? 6. So this should be to the 6th. This value is n. And then it is all over 1 minus negative 1/4. And again, you could put that one in parentheses. The trick is, guys, you cannot make minus a negative plus positive up here. Okay? If you wanted to down here, it would work. But because of the power, you can't up on top. And I need an extra parenthesis, don't I, up on top here? All right. So try that. See what you get. This makes me very nervous. This is the question everyone knows how to do, and then they get it wrong because they can't type it right. This is the minimum number of parentheses you can have, okay? You could put extra ones around that denominator, but you should get this 7.99 gross number, yes? And then I think it becomes a lovely 4095 over 512. Can you bring it up here and I can see what you typed in? Anybody else having trouble? This is where we run into trouble. See, you didn't close the parenthesis around the whole top for the division bar there. Instead, you close it at the end. Okay. See, it's very close to being right. You have to close, he missed this parenthesis and that did it. Okay, got him the wrong answer. There's so many parentheses, it's easy to do. Questions? All right. Then I think there's one more in this section before we go on to parametrics. And I put a big old star by this one because it says a colony of mold grows at a rate of 3.5% per day if there were 1,200 mold spores on day 1. So that's telling us term 1. And about how many would there be on the 12th day? So what are we looking for? We're looking for term 12. Guys, this is not a sum question, okay? Because the sum is already in the fact that we're going to use 100 and some percent. So this is growing exponentially, so we don't need to know how many there were each separate day. We just want to find the 12th day. I know that's confusing, but 100% plus 3.5% is 103.5%, which makes our R value what? 1.035. And all we want is the 12th term. We don't need a sum formula. So there's 1,200 to start with, and then it's growing by 1.035. And on the 12th day, it would have grown 11 times. So can you type that in? $1,200 times 1.035 to the 11th power. I got 1752 roughly. Anybody else? Okay. So it says, would there be on the 12th day? It's not a sum question. It's just term 12. All right. Now, this parametrics, I did not put enough review on here. I apologize. It is worksheet 18 and 19 from the Unit 5 packet. It was this kind of concepts. Okay, and I'll talk more about this one in a second, but let's do the one that's on here first. The first example I have for you on your reference sheet is a projectile motion question, and that formula is on your reference sheet. Can you guys find it on the reference sheet? Okay. And it says you have to put in, let me slide this up a little bit. It says for the x, it's t times v sub 0 times the cosine of the angle. Well, 100 feet per second is our initial velocity. An angle of 50 degrees is our theta. An initial height of 2 is h sub 0. So the equation for x, it says, is t v sub 0 cosine of theta. So don't forget that t. That's what messes everybody up. So it's t times 100 times the cosine of 50 degrees. And then the y, it says, is negative 16t squared plus t v sub 0 sine theta plus h sub 0 on the end. So it's negative 16t squared plus t times 100 sine of 50 plus 2. All right. For an application problem, can anybody remember what T stands for in this problem? Time. So how much time do you think it takes a baseball to come down? Three seconds? Okay, we'll try 3. I don't know if it, worst case scenario, it stops in midair if it's not enough. How far away do you think it's going to go? Read the question again. It says when it's 300 feet away, so I'm thinking we need to put like 350, 400 in here. And I guessed first that this was like 40 feet in the air. I think you have to go more like 75. Did somebody try 80, 100? I don't know. Let's just be safe. I'll do 0 to 100 for the height of the ball. All right. So what modes do you have to have your calculator in? Degrees and parametrics. Because it was a 100-degree 100-degree angle. No, 60, 50-degree angle. Something like that. The 100 was. All right. And then parametrics. So that when we go to y equals, we're going to put in t. 100 cosine 50. Am I remembering the right numbers, guys? Thank you. And then down here, negative 16 t squared plus t. Don't forget that second t. 100 sine 50, close parenthesis, plus 2. Okay, so I'm going to go to my window and put in, we said 0 to 3 seconds. The t-step should always be 0.1. And then we tried 0 to 400. And to the y min and max, we did 0 to 100. Okay. How did that work? Well, it fits in the window, except we needed a couple more seconds of time. I'm going to try 5 seconds. I think that might be enough. There. Anybody having trouble? Okay, the question asks when it's 300 feet away. I have to tell you, this is poorly done. The one on the quiz is not this complicated, but as you trace, what is going to become 300, or what do you want to be 300? You want x. The problem is the question asks at 300, is it 10 feet in the air? And it's very hard to tell. Did anybody fiddle? What? This is just before this, it was at 300, right? So what's before 4.7? 4.6, it was only 295 feet away and it was still 15 feet in the air. So we need something between 4.6 and 4.7. I think 4.67 is about the best you can do. Again, I don't think you have to fiddle like this on the quiz. But if you get to 4.67, it's 300 feet away. And did it clear 10 feet? Yeah, just barely. Should go over the fence. Like I said, I don't think it's that close. So how high is the ball when it's 300 feet away? I got 10.8 at t equals 4.67. That was a lot of extra work. So will it be a home run? Yes. Clears the fence barely. Any questions about how we did that? Okay. The part at the end where you had to like try some closer amounts of time, I don't think that's going to be an issue on the, I think it's going to be, if you're close, you'll be fine. All right. Part of this, remember, was also graphing. I just need you to remember that when they tell you this as part of the question, that this means your t value had to be between -3 and 4. Do you remember that? This is just a sample off a worksheet that we did. Now, you have this example, okay? And I'm going to pretend that for this question, it had a t-value between -2 and 3. It really doesn't say anything on your sheet. But I just want to remind you that if you had this question, can anybody read me those real quick? What was the first one? Was it 2t minus 6? And the other one was t squared? Okay. And if the window had been given on your sheet as -2 to 3, okay, if it gave you that t value, that is what you have to put in. And then you would be able to go to the table and figure out what your x and y would need to be. But remember, it has endpoints at -2, and the endpoint was -10.9. And it has an endpoint when t is 3, and that was at 0.14. Does this sound familiar? Okay. The part I was worried about and put on the quiz was, by the way, it also says indicate orientation. If I go back and change my window, I'm going to try a zoom square. It's not going to go well. Oh, that's not good. I meant zoom standard, but what was it? -2 to 3. And that might work, but I feel like one of them was at 14. Was it at 14, guys? Okay. Why is it not graphing? What did I mess up? Oh, the t-step. All right. But it does ask you, it started at -10.9. It does ask you to indicate orientation. So as you plot the points, you have to put those little arrows on there, okay? I feel like we haven't reviewed this very well, so I'm feeling like I'm going to be very generous on this on the quiz, okay? But back to this. You have to do one eliminate the t. Does anybody remember how this goes? You want to solve this for t and substitute it in here. So you would take x and add 6 over to that side so that it said 2t, and then divide by 2. So that you have t by itself, and then you're going to plug it in here so that it becomes y equals x plus 6 over 2 squared plus 5. Do not try to simplify on the quiz because you might make an algebraic mistake. I'd rather you just left it. Does that make sense, guys? If it doesn't have the t anymore, golden. And the one on the quiz actually might be easier than that. All right, that's what I got on parametrics. Please review the worksheets if you need more practice. Then the other worksheet that you have, we need to talk about binomial probability and expected value, okay? What I really, really, really want to convince you of today is that I want you to only use the binom PDF button. This is from your reference sheet. I want you to stick with the binom PDF. And if they're asked for something, I want you to add up any probabilities that they need. So first of all, I'm just going to do this question about golf. Everybody find this one? Golfer can drive a ball to the fairway about 70% of the time. What is the probability of hitting the fairway on exactly? That's the PDF part. 14 of 18 holes. All right, so it is under VARS, second VARS. It's not normal, it's the binom PDF, so it's down at A. Now, I don't know why mine sometimes does this and sometimes gives you the menu. Did yours give you the menu? I don't know why sometimes it doesn't. There, now I have the menu. Okay. But It is, let's see, the trials was 18 holes. The probability of success was 70%, so 0.70. And we wanted to know what's the chance that he hits on exactly 14. So we're going to put 14 as our X value. And then if we hit enter, we could just write down 0.168 and be done. That's a probability, and you don't need to make it into a percent. I don't care. Everybody good on that one? That's when it says exactly. Okay, I want you to skip all the way down. By the way, I would like you to go back and try 2 and 3 on your own, but you're welcome to just cross out this Alfonso question, the testing question there. And I'd like you to go to this business question, and I'm going to change it a little bit. How much time do I have, guys? Okay, I think we have time to do A real quick. It says the probability of a certain sales rep successfully making a call is 1/5. They have 12 appointments this week. What is the probability that the sales rep makes no sales? So this would be binom PDF out of 12 calls with a probability of 1/5, what is the chance that they make 0 sales? Okay, so go find that all and type that in real quick. Ugh. Hope you're faster than me at this. Seriously? That's what happens when I say, do I at least have the right numbers in there? Okay. All right, did someone get that? 0.069 maybe? Okay, I would like to change part B. Everybody with me? Can you change part B to be more like on the quiz? It would say, what is the probability that the sales rep makes less than 3 sales this week? Less than 3 sales. Okay. So for part B, less than 3 sales, I would like you to keep doing binom PDF rather than try to figure out how that CDF one works, and say 12 1/5 0, and then you don't need to type it like this, you can type it separately. I'm just going to abbreviate some of this. And you could also make how many to stay less than 3? 1 or 2. So 12 1/5 2. And then you want to add all those probabilities up. So I already did 0, right? I'm going to do this a little sneakily. I'm going to bring this down, and I'm going to change this 0 to a 1. And then I'm going to go back up, and I'm going to change that 1 to a 2. So now if I add these 3 decimals up, that's the probability that he gets 0, 1, or 2 sales, which would hold him under 3 sales for the week. They wanted the probability that he gets less than 3, or I changed it to say less than 3. .558, anybody? Now you could have used binom CDF for that, but last time that didn't go well. Was it 0.558? Okay. So we added these up. Last time that did not go well. I'm going to skip C, don't do C at all, and then go to the back. Do I have a couple minutes, I hope, still? We need to talk about expected value with this raffle ticket question, okay? You're welcome to do the rest of the back for your homework check, but the only one I'm going to have time for is the one that's like the quiz, the raffle ticket. 150 tickets for a raffle are sold at $20 a ticket. 4 winning prizes are given away, a $300, a $150, and 2 $50 prizes. So this one's kind of weird. The one on the quiz is not this complicated. but you have a 1 in 150 chance of winning $300. But do you really win $300? You spend 20 to get the ticket, so you win 280 or 300 minus 20. Okay, you have a 1 in 150 chance of getting the $150 prize, but 150 minus 20 would really only be 130. Everybody good? Now, you could do the $250 prizes separate, or we could just do them together. There's 2 out of 150 that will win. What's 50 minus 20? They only make $30, right? But what happens to all the other people? They all lose $20. And how many people are there? Yes, there were 4 prizes given. So start typing. Okay, 1 divided by 150 times 280 plus 1 divided by 150 times 130 plus 2 divided by 150 times 30 plus 146 divided by 150 times negative 20. Okay, I didn't use any parentheses and I still got the right answer. They lost on average $16.33. Did someone else get that? Does someone need me to go back over it? Do you want me to make up one more in the 2 minutes I have left? You want me to make up an easier one? Okay. Instead, I'll just do this one real quick. It says in a business venture, a company estimates that there's 60% probability that they'll make a $95,000 profit, 20% probability that they'll break even and make nothing, and a 20% probability that they'll lose $65,000. So that's how you would do that one and then figure out the average. Okay? It's not really an average, it's just how it works. Now, please make sure, okay, that your homework check is ready tomorrow, that you've done the delta maths, and that you've checked all of your answers on the keys in Google Classroom, so you know you're doing this stuff right. I am in tonight. I am here for advisory. I am in before school tomorrow.